We're going to begin now with the Northwest Ordinance. Islam. So here, Northwest Ordinance 1787, officially titled, An Ordinance for the Government of the Territory of the United States Northwest of the River Ohio. The Northwest Ordinance was adopted on July 13, 1787 by the Confederation Congress, the one House legislature operating under the Articles of Confederation.
Okay, could you pause right there, brother? Thank you. Gratitude. So this was passed July 13th, 1787 by the Confederation Congress The one House legislature operating under the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation was in the year of 1777, right?
Right.
Yes.
That's right, 1777.
This is the government that were in place. It was the Confederation Congress, not the Continental Congress. The Confederation Congress, not the Continental Congress. How many of us was taught that it was operating under the Continental Congress? Weren't we all pretty much taught that?
Islam, that's what I Googled and seen.
Right,
So
yeah.
they've been bamboozling me.
It wasn't the Continental Congress, it was the Confederation Congress. And the Confederacy, right, which we see in 1777, it said that those articles of the Confederation was adopted by the Continental Congress. So you already had the Confederation Congress in place.
That's right.
The Continental Congress adopted the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation were already in place. So you have the Continental, you have the Confederacy, which is the original seat of government, the de jure government, the Confederacy. Already here, already practicing its own government, already participating in its own government, already under its own vine and fig tree. And because you had a group of people who wanted to come over here and be free from their majesty, George, they decided to create a farmers association.
All the good boys. All the good boys are living off of that. Now their children are living off of it, I should say.
Islam. They adopted a farmers association. Then you have them where they adopt the Articles of Confederation, which was already in place. That's the de jure government here. Then they declare their independence. The Declaration of Independence. Pardon self, they declare their independence first, and then they adopt the Articles of Confederation. Then they create the Constitution for the United States of America. We were never supposed to leave the Confederation. We left the Confederation. We were never supposed to leave the Confederation. We left the Confederation. Many of us. Go ahead, Brother Mosio, you can continue to read.
Islam. The Northwest Ordinance chartered a government for the Northwest Territory, provided a method. Islam, let me read again. The Northwest Ordinance chartered a government for the Northwest Territory, provided a method for admitting new states to the Union from the territory, and listed a Bill of Rights guaranteed in the territory. Following the principles outlined by Thomas Jefferson in the Ordinance of 1784, the authors of the Northwest Ordinance, probably Nathan Dane and Rufus King, spelled out a plan that was subsequently used as the country expanded to the Pacific. These principal provisions were obtained in the document. 1, a division of the Northwest Territory into not less than 3 nor more than 5 states. 2, a 3-stage method for admitting a new state to the Union, a congressionally appointed governor, secretary, and 3 judges to rule in the first phase, an elected assembly, and 1 non-voting delegate to Congress to be elected in the second phase when the population of the territory reached 5,000 free male inhabitants of full age, and a state constitution to be drafted and membership to the Union to be requested in the third phase when the population reached 60,000. 3, a Bill of Rights protecting religious freedom, the right to a writ of habeas corpus, the benefit of trial by jury, and other individual rights, In addition, the ordinance encouraged education and forbade slavery.
Okay, pause right there. Gratitude.
That's all.
Thank you. So the Northwest Ordinance chartered a government for the Northwest Territory. So everything northwest of the colonies is a chartered government. What else is a chartered government, y'all? Let's get some examples of a chartered government.
First, Moorish Science Temple of America.
Moorish Temple of America. That's a chartered government.
Islam.
Islam.
And didn't each of the states receive a charter? Is this what that is discussing?
This is what it's discussing. Each of the states are chartered. What else are chartered governments?
Religious organizations.
Some.
Fraternal organizations.
Some. Are they governments?
That's what I don't know.
It's organizations.
Islam. I don't know.
Islam.
Could some countries be chartered? Well, yeah, of course, the state is a country in a way.
Islam. That's right. Those are nation states.
That's right.
Most of us, we live in a chartered county. That's a government, correct? County government.
That's right.
Aren't those chartered?
They are. Well, they have a charter. What's their form of charter? The Articles of Association? I mean, the Articles of Incorporation?
They are an association. Majority of the time when you see a charter for a county, it will be we the people that adopts the charter for the county. So it's the people who reside in that county that forms the charter for that county. Islam. So it is the Northwest Ordinance chartered a government for the Northwest Territory. So the Northwest Territory originally was everything northwest of the River Ohio. That's everything northwest of the River Ohio. Everything northwest of the River Ohio. Now, I want to show you all a map. I'm going to just show a regular map. I don't want to look at Carbondale. I want to zoom out. All right, so everybody can see this map right here. Can everybody see this map?
Islam.
It's my gratitude. Ohio River is somewhere around here. This is Ohio, right? And the river flows all the way into Canada and flows and through till you get to the Mississippi, which is right here where my cursor is pretty much. So Mississippi goes all the way into Louisiana, all the way down, and then all the way up into Canada, right? So now this Ohio River, everything northwest of the Ohio River, what states, I'm asking everybody to participate, what states would be considered northwest of the Ohio River to you all? Well, let's get some participation.
Islam, Indiana.
Indiana, okay, that's the one.
Illinois.
Illinois,
Michigan.
Michigan,
Wisconsin, and Minnesota.
Wisconsin, Minnesota. Islam. So would these states, Washington, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, would this be northwest as well?
I was thinking all of that. Yeah,
All of what, brother?
all of that to the coast, to the Pacific.
All that to the Pacific? Okay.
Islam.
Islam. So wouldn't that everything on the other side of Iowa, wouldn't that be on the other side of the Mississippi? It said northwest.
Northwest, right.
So if you cross over the Mississippi, then that would be out of bounds, wouldn't it? It don't say across the Mississippi.
Well, the Ohio River is right here, right? And then so everything northwest of the Ohio River, right? So like the brother said, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota. And then Brother Mosiel said, well, let's go ahead and add all the rest of these: Nebraska, Hawaii, Iowa, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, so on and so forth, right? So are there any other states that would be considered as Northwest Ohio? I mean, northwest of the Ohio River. Any other states?
State of Canada. Islam.
The state of Canada.
Well, it's not a
is
state.
country.
That's right, it's a country. Though, in the reading I gave, didn't it say something about the Pacific? Mention this to the Pacific.
No, brother, it didn't say anything about the Pacific, but you mentioned the Pacific. Islam. So you said Canada?
Well, Canada was claimed, that's a whole nother war.
So you
I say Canada.
But it's saying
as far as north, yeah. As far as northwest
to the Canadian borderline. Because if you're following the Ohio River goes north up into the Canadian border. So if it goes north, then that would include Toronto, but it wouldn't go over from Toronto towards Montreal. It will go to Toronto, and then it will go on up into Ontario. That's north. And then when you go west, see, west is Michigan. Northwest would be Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Iowa, it'd be questionable for Missouri because it says northwest to the
Mhm.
Mississippi. So
Okay. So you're saying that once it gets down here, this is all down south. That's what you're saying?
right.
Okay. All right. So you're saying Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, and all this down here is down south, correct?
That'll be southwest.
Okay, that'll be southwest. All right.
So
Okay.
so if we're coming
So
from Ohio,
so you're saying right here at the country line, which is right here, you said this would in the Northwest Territory. Is that correct?
well, I mean, that just depends on how you look at it. That's more, that would be more west to me, because
Mhm.
what it said was northwest to the Mississippi. It don't say go cross the it says to the Mississippi. So if I follow the Mississippi up, you know, Mississippi is going to go up through Minneapolis and Minnesota and on up to the Canadian border of Ontario.
Mhm.
Now, if I start stretching out towards Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska,
Mhm.
Kansas, Oklahoma, you know, Oklahoma is going southwest. So all that is on the other side of the Mississippi.
Mhm.
It don't say cross the Mississippi, it said
Mhm.
to the Mississippi. But I guess you could cross the Mississippi.
But we was talking about the Ohio River, not the Mississippi River per se.
Well,
But
okay.
I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying. So, all right. So basically what you're saying is all of this down here, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, all of this would be considered as Southwest. And then up here, North Dakota, Montana, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and all that, Michigan and Iowa, all of that will be considered as Northwest. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Gratitude, brother. Thank you for your participation. Anyone else? Anyone else? What would be considered as Northwest to you? Anyone else?
Islam.
Islam.
Yeah, I think the first brother's portion was
Left.
right on the head in regards to the northwest. And the order, I think the order I was saying was northwest, W-E-S-T.
Yeah, WEST, brother West. Like Kanye.
I said F like as in Frank,
Oh, no,
not
West. Like WES, like Kanye.
mm-hmm. But Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I think that's right on the portion. I think that we also can get that confused a bit with Mr. Stevens and what's left of the what do you say, the Appalachians and the Mauritanian races. So I can see how we can get that portion misunderstood. And then the download that I got is that the purchase didn't happen yet. So Spain was still around. And so I don't think we would be going too much farther west at all past Mississippi.
Okay.
And I yield on that portion.
That's all. Gratitude, brother. All right. Anyone else? Islam, it's okay that y'all participate. This is the time that you do it. You do so. It's time to participate. Islam. Can y'all hear me or y'all can't hear me?
Islam.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Okay.
They can.
Islam,
All
Grand.
right.
By the
Islam.
Confederation Congress.
I would
Yeah, I've
even
never seen that.
I would even say further west, but I'm guessing that at that time that was just territories. They weren't actual states because they was progressing west. Islam.
Okay. Islam, gratitude. All
Islam,
right.
did we mention Michigan already?
Yeah, we've already mentioned Michigan several times. Gratitude. Islam. So I want you all to clear your mind, right? And I'm doing this exercise because, right, we are extremely conditioned. And I'm adding myself. That's why I said we. We are extremely conditioned, right? Most of us would say that all of this, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, all the way up to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, right, Indiana, all of this is northwest of the Ohio River, right? And then, as Brother Sidney said, and all of this, Missouri, Kansas, Colorado, on down, California even, going down is southwest, right? So I'm going to show y'all how much we've been conditioned. What continent is Canada in?
North America.
North America. Would Canada be, with all of this part of Canada, would this part over here be northwest of the Ohio River?
Yes, it would be.
It would be, right? Now, the United States. What continent is the United States of America in?
North America. Islam.
North America. Would all of west of the Ohio River be the northwest of
North America.
the United States of America?
Islam.
Okay. What about down here into Mexico? What continent is Mexico in?
South America. North America, Islam, excuse me.
Okay, all right. Islam. We all know what continent Mexico is in?
Yeah.
Are we sure about that? We know.
Islam, Mexico is North America.
Okay, I want to make sure that we know.
I was jumping to say America itself, Islam.
Islam.
Islam. So from Canada all the way down into Mexico is North America, correct?
Islam.
So
Correct.
wouldn't all of this be northwest of the Ohio River? Like this right here, all of this right here. So say the Ohio River is right here. Wouldn't all of this be northwest of the Ohio River?
There is the West, and it would go extending. I don't know.
This all be the northwest of the Ohio River.
Goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness. I mean, wouldn't that all be the northwest of the Ohio River?
It pretty
You
much
can
is
kind
outside.
of say that, but you can kind of say Texas is a little southwest. Mexico is a little southwest.
No, we're talking about geography. We're not talking about what we've been taught. We're talking about actual factual geography. We know that there
Islam.
is a North, Central, and South America, right?
Mhm.
We know that these three countries make up all of North America, right? We know that we inhabit, right, the North American continent, right?
Right.
We also know that anything northwest of the Ohio River would be all of this, which I've outlined, would be literally northwest of the Ohio River, right? Not what we've been taught that everything under the Mason-Dixon line is the South, right? That is a condition that they put on us. That's what we were taught in school so that we would only think within those confines.
Well, can you help me get through the blockage, the mental blockage, to see how this extends from the river and how north is also going downwards, all the way capturing Mexico, and then not only upwards toward North Canada
No,
and
not
all of
toward
that
North
land.
Canada,
I mean,
but in Canada, because
Islam.
the Northwest Ordinance also mentions Canada,
Okay.
right? It also mentions Canada, right? Because all of this was a part of the Confederacy. Islam, it was so much a part of the Confederacy, even after the quote unquote Civil War, which was really fought in civil suits and civil actions in court. That's the reason why you had Abraham Lincoln, who canceled out the writ of habeas corpus, which no one can actually cancel out the writ of habeas corpus, right? You can't do it within where? The Northwest Territory, everything that is northwest of the Ohio River. You could never cancel out the writ of habeas corpus. The writ of habeas corpus is your command and demand to produce the body, to bring the body forward. Go ahead, Brother Barnesdale. You got a question?
So the Ohio River does connect into the Mississippi River, and so from that portion, if we go with how the river flows, I could see some interesting links there for sure.
Right. So everything northwest, it didn't say northwest in the United States of America. It said north, where it says northwest.
The Northwest Territory.
It said territory of the United States northwest of the Ohio, the river Ohio. All of this was United States under the Confederacy. All of these states were already here. They didn't just make up these names. They were already here. They were already united in the Confederacy. The Confederacy was already here. It was not something new. It was new when they adopted it. It was new for the colonial bodies to adopt it, but it was already
It's long.
there. Islam.
The Declaration of Independence. That portion. That was done by people of the Confederacy.
I'm sorry, say it again, brother.
The Declaration of Independence
What about it?
was the people who produced the Declaration of Independence were those people of the same Confederacy.
No, the Declaration of Independence came after the Articles of Association. So we know the Articles of
Right.
Association was Association of Farmers. And now they're calling them framers of the Constitution when they were really farmers.
Right.
So those weren't the same ones that was already functioning here in our government. Those were foreigners that was allowed to come over here by George in Charlotte to work on Charlotte's land. Charlotte had a lot of family. And Charlotte having a lot of family, she was able to, set her family up over here to work in these colonies. Right? It was about them being able to come over here, work off their debts that they owed to the crown over there. So they got tired of George and told George, we're going to form our own thing. So that's not us. We didn't have to declare independence. We were already independent. We already had our own confederacy.
Islam, but is that the time era that the
This is the 1700s, brother.
okay, that's during the time that they created the diplomatic pattern for democracy because of the Confederation and the republics and George Washington. Now, all this is part of the remapping, dealing with the Confederation, because when we go back in our studies and we look at our studies, right, all that up top, the Nebraska, North, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Seattle, Washington, the state of Washington, all the way across the Canadian borderline, all the way over to Rhode Island and the upper parts, the Northern Territory. See, all that was the New Louisiana Purchase. And I'm going to tell you something that I'm gonna make a statement on something that I found that kind of puzzles. Is when you look at certain documents of the Louisiana Purchase, it has two hands handshaking, like what's on our paperwork up under Mont Science Temple. But when you look closely at the picture, it's the left hand with a band on it of an eagle, shaking the right hand of a glove that's shaped like a Confederate glove. That was the representation or the seal of the deal, I guess, with the New Louisiana Purchase. But then when we drop down south and we look at Southwest and Southeast, I guess, see from that coast of California, the Pacific Ocean, all the way across to the Georgia, all that was New Mexico. So when we go in our teachers and our studies with Spain and the Spaniards and the Moors and dealing with the Native American that they was titled to, you know, upon having to build and live on reservations. See, all this mapping in the Confederation, all this came afterwards. That's what the move of the Confederation was. In the North, they had the blue coats. In the South, they had the red coats, and they blanket across. And as they blanket, they ran the Native Americans off the land. And that brought in the history of the Trail of Tears. So then by 1787 or 1777, you know, where it says 1774 through 1776, the Declaration of the Independence, of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and all that, when all that come in. So it, you know, when we go back and then we say, well, okay, where did the black coal laws of 1724 and 1726 come into effect? That's still dealing with what was going on the land, titlement and commerce. Now, getting back to the point of our lessons tonight with the Northwest Territory and the Ohio River. Now it says everything that's northwest of the Ohio. How far north can we go and how far west can we go? At what point do it just become west? It just becomes west, you know, when I get to saying, well, okay, I'm on the Pacific Ocean Rim. That's just west. So when I go up, you know, northwest, you know, on up into Canada.
I got an answer.
Islam.
Islam, the answer we just got, because the United States was ran by the Confederation Congress, which was a one-house legislature operating under the Articles of Confederation of 1777. And all of these states were already here, is what we just learned. And so under that, not Continental Congress, Islam, under the Confederation Congress, the Northwest Ordinance said northwest of the Ohio River, the United States northwest of the Ohio River. And so what we surmised here through Gresham is all of this was considered the United States. So not only do both words apply, they apply geometrically. The north of the Ohio River as for America, and the west of Ohio River as for America. So we got northwest, all of northwest, all the west, and all the north is what I'm devising.
Islam, gratitude. So yeah, Morris, we gotta wake up, because it literally is all of the Northwest, all of the Northwest. Not just what we've been taught as being the Northwest, but all of the Northwest. A lot of what there's not ever talked about is how what's not talked about really is how pivotal Mexico was to help and to help the North to win the quote unquote Civil War. Remember that portion of North America that's down into Mexico, that is northwest of the Ohio River. All of that was a part of the Confederacy. Right? We have always had a Confederacy. They hijacked it and called it the Iroquois Confederacy. But Iroquois is a French, that's a French name or a French term, Islam. So it wasn't the Iroquois Confederacy, but we definitely know what they mean when they say things like the Iroquois Confederacy, Islam. All right.
Praise Allah. Islam.
Praise Allah. So I want to go into I want to go here. Brother Mosio, you can continue to read. Let me go down. Bring this back down for you. You know what, before you get into it, Brother Mosio, we know that it is a chartered government, right? We know that it is the territory that is northwest of the Ohio River or the River Ohio. Right, and then we know how these states were entered in.
Wow. Thank you for explaining all this too as well.
Islam, gratitude. We know how all these states became a part of the a new state, right? How it became a new state to the Union, right? Because it was a farmers' union. How the new state would come into the Union. All right. Unions, again, are not
The
new.
new states.
Unions
So what
are,
happened to the old states?
they're still here. They still have the same name.
Oh,
The same name.
they was talking about the old states as
Yeah,
ancient.
yeah. They're still here. They still have the same names. They didn't go anywhere, although we were taught that they went somewhere, right? They were also called something else. They were also called something else, right? And I'm going to show you what they were also called. Because I want us to see that map, right? They were also called this right here. bring up a good map for you all.
An old ancient map is what you're bringing up?
Well, it's pretty old.
It's an old one.
It's an old one, but it's a goodie. I know we like our we love the old, so we gonna bring the
But you
old
know,
out.
everybody take the old as being the truth, right? And don't know they had lied to us on some of those old maps as well.
Mm-hmm. This is what I want to do. Okay. How many of us have seen maps like this?
Never, 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 never know. I've never seen no map like this.
Any ever seen maps with Mu and Atlantis on it?
Islam.
Islam, right?
Negative.
I've never seen a map with Mu and Atlantis. Has anyone else seen maps like this with Mu, the land of Mu?
Elmo started saying, never, never, never.
Anyone else?
I have, of course, my uncle Ravana Bay got those maps.
Oh, your uncle Ravana Bay has those maps. Gratitude. Shouts out to Uncle Ravana Bay. All right, Mu and Atlantis. All right, do you, Islam, go ahead.
I've heard of a map. I believe it's called I want to say the Pyrenees. It's supposed to be like an ancient map that shows. I'm not sure if Mu and Atlantis is in there, but I know it's some continents that are supposedly ancient continents.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's the same map or not.
Islam, gratitude. All right. So they showed us, all right, a lot of Moors back in the day started to like show us these maps. Shout out to who was that brother name? He was a Bey. Hakeem Bey. Hakeem Bey. He was one of the first ones that was putting us up on this information right here with Atlantis and Mu on the map, right? Now, you see where Atlantis is, you see where the land of Mu is at, right? Now, oh, I didn't want to do that. Let me go back. How about Atlantis being right here? How about Atlantis being right here? Atlantis.
Which map are you looking at? Excuse me.
This is the I think it's the Sanson map. It's called the Sanson map. Here it is right here. You have ATL, ANTIS, Atlantis, ATL.
North America, Florida,
Atlas.
Mexico,
ATLAS, 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 Atlantis, Atlas. Right here it says, let me get my pointer out. Get a different color. So this right here is Atlan, and this right here is TIS, TIS. Then we have at, right? ATL, Atlas, Atlas. Atlantis. Now, yeah, this is the Nicholas Sanson map, 1669. Right? America, aka Atlantis. Now, in the other map, they show Atlantis all the way somewhere else, right? Show Atlantis all the way somewhere else. But right here, the 1669 shows us, hold on, Atlantis is right here. Now, we know that Musa, going back to Exodus chapter 3. Remove these. Musa or Moses, right? He is given a token, right? He's given a token from the Lord. Token. Here it is. 12, 3 and 12. And he says, certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee, right? Now this is Moses, Musa, right? Because Musa is his name in Arabic. That's what the translation of Moses is in Arabic, right? It's Musa. So again, we see Mansa Musa on the Atlas with a token in his hand.
That's right.
Right? With a token in his hand. And we see him with this symbol. We see him with this symbol right here on the top of his staff. That's not a symbol from what they call Africa today, right?
That's
What
more.
they call Africa today. This did not originate with the quote unquote Africans, right? We see this symbol used in a nation state called Louisiana, right? Don't we? Isn't this a symbol that's associated with the what's that team in Louisiana? What's the
Saints.
team? The Saints, right?
Sure.
So that's the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Okay. New Orleans Saints. Cause see, I don't like to make up stuff. Yep, here it is right here. Wow, how did Mansa Musa pull that one off? Mm, 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 mm. How he get?
I don't.
It's funny how they play around with our history, right? And
Islam, but see,
rewrite things and tell us, untruths. Go ahead, brother. Sydney.
Islam, we had went in on Man Musa a little while ago because that symbol is repeated in our history.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also was used in cars. And we discussed the Chevrolet Caprice.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of Chevrolet Caprice, it was a Dodge Caprice and it was a Pontiac Caprice sign. But when we look at the state of Louisiana, when we look at the word Louisiana, that was the Spanish and the French. And dealing with the Spanish and the French, that still reminds us of the Louisiana Purchase. So that's Spanish and the French. So with Man Musa representing the Spanish, that's Spain and Spaniards.
No.
So when we look at that sign with the New
So hold on. Look, Louisiana, that wasn't the Spanish, that was the French, brother.
the prince. Which prince was it? Man,
I didn't say Prince, I said French. French. Yeah.
Okay.
French with the F, like Montana, French.
Okay, what year is that map right there?
This is 1803.
Okay, that's the Louisiana Purchase, 1803, and the Florida Purchase, 1819. Now, when we look down the Louisiana Purchase, that's going straight into the Mississippi and Louisiana and all that. So,
And it goes into Canada.
Right.
All of that was Louisiana.
Right. That's
before the quote unquote purchase, right? You had let's see, New Franco map. Right, New Franco was all of this right here. All of this was what they consider as Louisiana, or what was considered as Louisiana.
Right.
Right. All of this was Louisiana, all the way up into right, all the way up in even to territory ceded by France to Great Britain by the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713, right? The Purple Territories, right? This is all France. All of this was France. So all of this down here in the orange was Spain. But all of this, even the parts that aren't shaded in, all of that was France. Had a strong hold on it. Or that's why you had the war that was called the quote unquote Indian and French War. That's what it was fighting over. These were tribes. These were tribes who were fighting one another. So again, we have Mansa Musa with on this atlas. How he get on the atlas, and the atlas is over here? Oh my goodness.
So they brought his history and in representation of his throne.
How did he get on the atlas? And according to this map, where I get that map? Here it go. According to this map, atlas is right here. Right, this is over here where you had up in this area. right in here, this was, you know, California, this area right here. And then in between this split off right here, they call this the Red Sea. Remember I showed you the map where California, in between that split, they called it the Red Sea in older maps or on older maps. So, I mean, it adds up when the quote unquote legend goes that Abu Bukhari came over here and got all the gold from Queen Khalifa, which is California, right? Because if the atlas is right here and Mansa Musa, Moses receives a token and he show up on the atlas, on the atlas, which is the map, he show up on it and got this golden token. And they say Abu Bukhari, who was either they call him sometimes the nephew or the brother, depends on what story you read, of Mansa Musa, who's supposed to be from Africa, right? They say that he, showed up, you know, to make Hajj one year to Mecca, right? And as he made Hajj to Mecca, he dropped off so much gold, and it's reported that he supposedly got this gold from Queen Khalifa. What has California always been known for? What's one of the commodities California has always been known for?
Gold, Islam.
Gold.
California Gold Rush, the 49ers.
California gold rush. Right. So if Mansa Musa, Moses, aka, if he came over here with Abu Bukhari, and if he came over here with him and they was a part of this quote unquote gold rush, right? Wouldn't that be accurate when they say that the Moors had a era of gold or age of gold, like the golden age of the Moors?
You said they really bent our timeline.
Man.
So we didn't just have Jordans, Michael Jordan. We had Michael Jordan 400 years ago. Islam.
Islam. Yeah, it's funny when you begin to put all these things together. You know, even down here, further down on the map, right? This is called Antonton, Antontonus, or Antonton, right? Which means springing forth from the land or coming from the land. So there's nothing new under the sun, even to the point where this this right here is Capricorn. Capricorn. Capri. Who do we know who's a Capricorn? someone that we know very
Prophet
well.
Noble Drew Ali.
Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Capricorn. And this is Capricorn. All right, let's get to, I want to pull up this book. Look a book for you all. I want you to see, they always hijacking. I mean, the hijack be so real. All right, this is the congressional record. All right, congressional record, proceedings and debates of the first session of the 75th Congress of the United States of America, volume 81, part 5. This was May 19th, 1937 to June 17th, 1937. All right, now put this in this. I put it in Mighty Networks this week, so you can go and check it out and grab it if you want to. But I want you all to see how they how real the hijack is. Sound like notifications coming through. All right. Down too far. Let me see. June 10th. Here we are. Anyone have any questions or comments as I'm pulling this up? Anyone got any questions or comments while I'm pulling this up? Islam. Oh. Whoever that is, could you please mute out? Someone has a sound like some TV in the background. It's yes. Can you hear me out? Islam. So here it says that here it's talking about Hitler, right? Hitler was said to have been of blonde hair and blue eyes, right?
I don't know about that portion.
I mean, that's what it's taught. That's what we're taught, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. When we grow up in the poison school system, yeah, that's right. That's what they taught us.
That he had blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah, and that he wanted to restore the
Every
Aryan
depiction I've
race.
seen was with dark hair.
I didn't
Right.
believe any of it.
I mean,
Yeah, he
that's
wanted to restore the Aryan race. That's what they said. I looked at the Nazis from over here like they was crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you. I looked at these people over here that claim to be Nazis. I looked at them crazy because I could tell that Hitler was not really rocking with them. Yeah, see, I could tell,
why
even
do
as
you
a
say
child.
that?
Because the same people that Hitler was supposedly killing is the same people that look like those Nazis from over here. They look the same to me. They don't look too odd. They're different to me than me. So that was my big portion on that, is that Hitler would have offed them too. He wasn't German. They weren't German. There's other forms of, I got a better understanding today of them. So that's just my portion.
All right, so here it says, I'm gonna start.
Go to fact right here. This is bringing us a fact.
I'm gonna start right here. All right, so I'm gonna start right here. To understand the infamy involved in the attempt to assassinate the character of Cardinal Mundelini, one has to bear in mind that the leaders of the Third Reich are anything but pure Germans. Are
What are we looking
anything,
at?
should be showing the congressional record.
Yeah, but where exactly are you reading? Like, it's up there, but
Right
what
here.
section? Okay, I got you. Islam.
This one. All right, to understand the infamy involved in the attempt to assassinate the character of Cardinal Mundelin, one has to bear in mind that the leaders of the Third Reich are anything but pure Germans. Okay, so they're saying that they're not pure Germans.
Islam. Remember, they were supposed to be black.
Didn't they teach us that Hitler was fighting on the behalf of Germany and all the Germans? And he was exterminating the Jews. They had to be exterminated because they were harming the Germans.
Well, my understanding, he was fighting on behalf of Nazi Germany. And that's even my former understanding. It was Nazi Germany. It wasn't just Germany. Okay, the same way the USSR. That wasn't Russia. That was the USSR. So that's just my understanding. Just to add that.
So what's the difference?
Well, I don't have the facts, but due to my understanding of government, since I've been in the Moorish Science Temple of America, I'm pretty sure one might have been organic and the other is a corporation established after 1928, 1933. Islam.
Okay.
The USSR does come back. You can trace them back to the czars, so that establishes what I'm saying too. It is fundamental.
Okay, it says they are mostly foreigners. They are mostly foreigners. Behold, Adolf Hitler himself, the Al Capone racketeer, Now, who is Al Capone?
That was an Italian mobster. Yeah, he was an Italian mobster, so they say Italian. He was in Chicago. That's one of Chicago's most notorious gangsters in the history. You know, anytime I try to cap one of them youngsters from Chicago, when I was talking that street gangster stuff, that they always pull the Al Capone card because I ain't got no gangsters that ancient in my city that I know about. So they use that as a little trump card. So Islam, that's my portion on that.
So you're saying Al Capone is used as a trump card in Chicago?
Hey, you know, anytime we looking over there, you know, it's a portion from over there here, you know, and that's what I learned in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Starting with Virginia Company, London Company, Islam. I wouldn't be surprised.
Islam. So he said that Hitler himself was the Al Capone racketeer of Germany. It said he was dark-skinned.
Not dark.
It said he had black eyes.
Sounds like an Asiatic to me.
Sound like a Moor.
It said he was swarthy.
Hey, so who's that person they used in Hollywood then? Talk to me. Because look, then he
supposedly he gave the prophet a Cadillac, supposedly, right?
Hey, now it makes sense.
This is Hitler. Yeah,
no, baby. It makes sense.
Okay, pardon the body. Okay.
Did he really give the prophet a Cadillac?
Hey, the Hindus of the Indus Valley, man, they's part of the divine origins of the Asiatic nations. We can't act like they not. We cannot act like they are not. We got our Circle 7 to authenticate that. So it would not surprise me if that brother got the prophet a Cadillac. It just wouldn't surprise me. You know, and around that time they had a deified Hindu god named Sri Sai Baba around the time of the Prophet Moors. So that's a connection that I need to get in more too when I have more time or cycles to demonstrate on. I yield.
It said he was swarthy. What's swarthy?
Swarthy is dark.
Can somebody read that?
Being of a dark hue or dusky complexion, tawny. In warm climates, the complexion of men is universally swarthy or black. The Moors, Spaniards, and Italians are more swarthy than French, Germans, and English. Their swarthy hosts would darken all our plains, black as the swarthy African.
Wow.
Now, as I say, I learn on this call each and every time we get on the phone, I learn. However, I was going to bring mention to the fact that I had heard through my and research through my studies that Hitler was a person of color, a Moor, so to speak. But up until this point, I had never been able to gather the evidence to support that claim. So I yielded to bring that up earlier. But all the depictions we see, Hitler is, got, pale skin and dark hair.
Hollywood.
Islam, gratitude. This so-called portion, what they call a swastika, it has Eurasian as well as some African and American cultures. That's what it says on here. So tying in with our circle 7.
That the Moors, Spaniards,
Yeah,
and Italians. Now, Christopher Columbus, what was his nationality?
You say what?
What was Christopher Columbus' nationality?
He was a Spaniard. And he was a Spaniard from what it seems like because he was Christian. I think that's the difference between the Spaniard and the Moor at this point.
So Christopher Columbus wasn't no white man that came over here?
Not at all. He was a European though, but he was not of the descent of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. No, Yugoslavia, and them.
Now, if we're back on the subject of Hitler, now there was an article that I came across a while back that showed, I guess some of the reasons why Hitler was portrayed in the light that he was portrayed in was that he had bumped heads with the Rothschild family and ended up arresting Baron Louis de Rothschild. And the Rothschilds being the head of the banking world could have a lot to do with kind of the reason behind some of the portrayals that, and I guess the negative, I don't want to call it negative, but basically the history and the story that we were told about Hitler.
Now, if you're swarthy, how could you be anti-Semitic?
Because they don't know that all the inhabitants of Africa are Semitic. I didn't know that either, sis. I just really got. I'm just now starting to like grasp it just a bit, I'm just starting to grasp it. So of course they don't get it. Just hands down.
Islam. It said he was dark skinned, black eyes, swarthy, and excitable. Does not represent the ideal of the blonde, blue-eyed, slow and calm German. He is an Austrian Slav. Whew. So for all those that don't understand, the original Austrians from Australia, they look like us. Benjamin Franklin said everywhere he went in the world, all he seen was us. Shout out to Ben Franklin. He is an Austrian Slav who became a German citizen shortly before he seized power. His first deputy, Rudolf Hess, the intellectual sadist and sycophant of Hitler, head of the Brown Stormtroopers, was born and raised in Egypt. And his habits are those of an Oriental. His habits are those of an Oriental. Remember, this was called the Orient, right? So when they're talking about Oriental, they're talking about us over here. The Nazi Minister of Agriculture, Herr Dere, the boll weevil, corn borer. Corn borer means he grew corn. He grew corn. Where's corn from?
North America.
Okay. Corn is originally from here, right? His head of agriculture was raised in Egypt, right? And it says his habits are those of an Oriental. It says the Nazi Minister of Agriculture, Erdere, the boll weevil, and corn borer, an agrarian parasite of Germany. Called him an agrarian parasite of Germany. Oh, you children on the corn. So corn was a parasite of Germany. So the Germans can just corn, like the original corn, not, not the stuff they give us, not Monsanto, but original corn, maize. Germans can't eat corn? Mm, 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 mm. Whew. Was born and raised in Argentina. The spiritual leader of the Third Reich, Alfred Rosenberg, is a Latvian Slav. Now, we was told Rosenbergs were Jews, right? I mean, all these, most of these names that we got, Hess, Hitler, Rosenberg, right? These were all quote unquote Jewish names. Say he's a Latvian Slav. Not one drop of German blood flows in his veins. But he is the most fanatical, religious, racketeering preacher of pure Germanism. Pure Germanism. So that means that this new Germanism can't congest corn. So there was something done in the DNA structure of this new Germanism that they can't congest corn.
I just think you struck a chord.
I
think I get a little bit of what you're saying now.
Right. So you got Islamism, which is an old time religion, right? You got Hinduism, which is an old time religion. You got Christianity, which is a new time religion. The pure Germanism is the old Germanism. Because the new German is the blue-eyed, blonde hair, slow and calm German. But the old German, looking like Hitler himself, black complexion, black eyes, black hair, swarthy, right? That's what the old German looks like. So even though Hitler wasn't a German, didn't have any German blood in him, he reminded all of the old Germans, the original Germans, what the Germans look like. That's how he was able to come into power. So there was a doctor, right? There was a doctor that was German back in the day. And he looked a little swarthy, even in the black and white pictures. But he was doing this thing back in the 1920s, right? It says tourists strolling along the Coney Island boardwalk in the summertime circa 1920 would have heard the barkers beckoning. Don't forget to see the babies. Don't forget to see the babies. What babies? Those that heeded the call, perhaps after enjoying a hot dog, or a ride on the Cyclone, paid a quarter, and stepped into a room where the tiniest of the infants, weighing 2 or 3 pounds each, were on display in individual incubators. Madam Right. Madam Right. Didn't I just talk about the third right? Okay. Madam Right, their nurse, occasionally wowed the crowds with a special trick, placing her diamond ring around the baby's wrist. It may have been the strangest place on earth for human tots to be fed, nursed, and cared for, as the Brooklyn Eagle reported in 1903. In 1903. So in 1903, you could go to Coney Island and they would have these incubator babies. They would have these incubator babies.
1903.
1903. But for much of the early to mid 20th century, precious few treatment options were available for premature babies. Dr. Martin Coney's Barnemsqui or Barnesqua, whatever it is, it's French, showcase was their best chance. Whether at Coney Island or Atlantic City or any number of the world's fairs. The world's fairs. The world's fairs. When was the first one? What year was the first World Fair? $1893. 1893 was the first World Fair. All right. In amusement parks across America where Coney and his family set up their concession, the preemies that hospitals largely dismissed as weaklings got a second chance of life. All right, got a second chance of life. All right. And this is the doctor with the premature babies, right? Now, these premature babies was in these incubators. I'll go a picture right here, the incubators. They was in these incubators, right? Now, whatever happened to these children? Whatever happened to these children?
I think I've seen images of what happened to him.
It says he became widely accredited with saving the lives of over 6,500 premature babies. Over 6,500 premature babies. His nationality is German American. German American. Right? German American.
Islam, sis, this says German Jewish descent.
Well, it says his nationality is German American,
Okay.
right? It says that his parents were German speaking Jews. Right. So if I want to be known as the recognized first pioneer of NATO logical technology, then most of the times you're going to hear about some type of German being the innovator when it's dealing with the end of the 1800s going into the early part of the 1900s. For some reason, Germany had this boost, right? They had this boost of just these great people who were the best innovators in the world. And as they were innovating, they also went into war because they had some swarthy man who was basically saying that they need to go back to the old time religion of ancient Germanism before they had all these incubator babies, right? Right. So some of the incubator babies was sent back over to Germany, and then others were sent to the Midwest.
Mm,
Where they at? I want the real ones, not the.
Yeah, this is 8.
I don't want that one. I want the real deal. The boxcar kids. Or it might be called the train kids. Come on now, Google. Might be the train orphans. Let me try that. Here they go. Here they go. All right, so the train orphans, let's see. Riders of the Orphan Train preserves the unforgettable stories of unwanted children. 2 Texans travel the U.S., presenting the history of 250,000. This is always the hijack. When it's an even number, you know they're lying. Children who were taken west by the train in search of families. In search of families. So look at the children. Right, between 1854 and 1929, over 250,000 orphans and wanted children were put on trains in the overcrowded East. Like Atlantic City, Coney Island, right? In the late 1800s and early 1900s, New York City had a problem. New York City had a problem. What was the problem? The German scientists made all these incubator babies, these genetically modified humans.
Yo, there was a movie called The Boys from Brazil, if you ever watched, that talked about Hitler and them creating these incubator babies, basically. That's crazy.
Now Hitler was wanted to stomp out the incubator babies, right? Wanted to stop the production of them. You know, it was good child labor. It was good child labor. It was good child labor. When you go back to the census for like the early 1900s, the late 1800s, when you go back to the census, you'll notice that a lot of the pale Germans, these incubated babies, they have no beginning except for that the doctor that created them. There was a movie, I think it's on Netflix, that just came out not too long ago, about this doctor that was in Indiana, and he fathered all these children by getting all these women pregnant. He was an actual
Yes.
gynecologist.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, it's the same thing. This doctor was creating these Jacobian experiments with these children in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Right?
Islam.
This doctor didn't get this didn't create this technology. It was already here.
Wow.
How to create children from a incubator, right? You know, when I was growing up, we called them test tube babies.
Right.
I don't know what they call them now, but when I was growing up, we called them test tube babies. Not understanding what that actually meant growing up, all we knew was they was made in a tube. All right. Said New York City had a problem, tens of thousands of homeless children. How all these homeless children just become homeless? And they all pale. They all pale.
It says unwanted children. How does that work? I'm starting to see where this is going, and I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm starting to think that I kind of see where this is going.
Yeah.
In terms of the story that we were fed to believe.
No court cases, nothing.
No,
No
because
FBI.
their property, they're not human.
So if they weren't born of a natural way in terms of, born from a womb, from a mother, father, they're, again, because they were created in a laboratory and born, out of, like you said, the test tube that changes the classification from a legal standpoint. And so when you say that Hitler was trying to stop the production of these test tube babies, when you get the story of the sending them to concentration camps, and you get the story of him, exterminating, it wasn't exterminating the Jews, it was exterminating these test tube babies. But the story then got morphed into this because they want to, again, kill and assassinate his character without saying what was really going on in terms of this production of these genetically produced
modified humans.
Humans. Exactly.
I have met a woman who was branded in a Jewish concentration camp. She had that number on her arm. And the story she told of how she was able to escape was just
fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Like unbelievable, right?
Correct. Correct. Exactly.
Like, girl, you lying. You better go somewhere. You know, I don't believe that. Mhm.
Well,
Exactly.
when you hear a story of that, it almost takes you back from a biblical standpoint. So when you look at, when they talk about, Jesus and, him being entombed, and they say, what they do? They paid the guards to say whatever took place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, with a lot of these people who claim to have been in these concentration camps, that sounds like that might have been similar.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Now, to add to that, though, and again, this is where I always go back to, man. You have people, people always want to call anybody who seeks truth conspiracy theorists. And they say, oh, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, this and another. And it's like, okay, well, you got the whole world on board with creating Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. But it's hard to believe that they would, create similar situations like this, or that we could have a situation like 9/11 or anything else you want to discuss, right?
That's right.
Now, I even went over at one point in time in my youth, I think I was about 17, and we actually toured Germany, and I actually went to Auschwitz and saw the camps that they claimed to have, done some of this stuff. But again, a lot of that, it just didn't make sense, in terms of the location. You claim you was bringing these folks in there by train, but they ain't no train tracks in there. But I mean, it's just so much stuff that I'm like, this don't make sense. And, I've always been a history fanatic, but I'm sitting there like, yeah, this ain't.
They brought them on
And
trains, though. They did bring them on trains. These are the orphans.
yeah, but,
These were
but
the
even
ones that was on the trains. Mm-hmm.
Over here.
Woo! Hollywood.
Who
Hollywood. Who runs Hollywood?
And then if there was a
the
real
modern day Jews.
Come on now.
abracadabra, remember them in a Kabbalah, abracadabra. You just don't gotta buy into it.
Man.
Hey, cause look, Japan, you know what I'm saying, Chinese.
It said at that time it was called said widespread poverty and disease. Poverty and disease. The issue wasn't the poverty, the problem was the disease. These Germans, that's why they're Germans. What the diseases. Led to a city overrun with orphans and unwanted children. That is until a minister. Here comes the Pope. Daddy. Now that gonna Pope always around, ain't he?
Well, what's crazy about that part just right there? So they're overrun in New York. They're unwanted children, but you're going to send them out west and do what with them? So now they're just going to be out west unwanted to survive on their own?
No, they got an agency, brother. They got an agency with this demonstration.
Come on now, they got an agency.
Is found it like
Woo!
this is cohorts for sure. Like they raising people up. You don't understand. People will so-called think they're taking a child that they think is from China or somewhere. How many children do you think people will actually take, especially if they got ties? If they got ties, the Yakubian deception.
Mm-hmm. They got an agency.
Oh yeah, I said it. I had said the orphanage, and they got a ton of them, and they got the they got the Catholic monasteries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, after that, because we know all the
Send them west.
demonstrations.
Yeah, send them west. So began the orphan train. At that time, it was called the placing out system. The placing out system. Now they call it the juvenile system. And it utilized any passenger train going in any direction that offered reduced fares for children. At stops along the way, farmers, is the association, and shopkeepers would come to the station, inspect the children, and decide if any would be a good match for their families or businesses. Don't this sound like slavery?
Indeed.
I mean, ain't this what they said that we went through, right? Didn't they say this? Well, it wasn't with trains. They said it was on ships, right? Mm-hmm. At the port, right?
I mean, Islam. What is bondage? I mean, let's be real. You're gonna have to serve somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to serve. I mean, that's for even the angels. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just a natural thing. I don't even think it's nothing more than that. And whoever they created is, that's who they gotta serve in that fashion. I don't know.
Mm.
We gotta create a serve him in that fashion. Our own violent fiction.
So
It,
if
it,
you, oh, I'm sorry.
Islam, go ahead, better talk.
No, go ahead, finish. I apologize.
No, I was finishing. I said it was really deep, and I conclude. I would like to hear what you was gonna say.
I was just going to go into, to go on top of the demonstration she was giving about, what they tell us about ships. So when you go to your pal Webster, that you like, Noah Webster, and look at the definition of a ship, it's, in a general sense, a vessel or building of a particular structure adapted to navigation. Or it can be floating on water by means of sails, an appropriate sense of building of a structure or form fitted for navigation, furnished with a bowsprit and three masts, a main mast, a foremast, and a mizzen mast, each of which is composed of lower masts. But it gives, basically the definition that anything that's basically navigating. So, the story that they were being transported on ships, or slaves were being transported on ships, is not necessarily incorrect. It's just misguided in terms of the definition.
Wow. Okay, it said it is a shocking story, and one that's remained largely untold, right? And then it talks about them starting to tell the story, and then it gets into this part. It says, when she met Lancaster, the two found that he had lived 5 miles away from the Orphan Train Heritage Society of America. The two now travel as presenters of history. Presenters of history, combining the stories of children into a multimedia musically enriched collaborative performance. Well, ain't that the industry? Ain't that what they call the film industry? Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me read this. Because that is the industry for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's the fake world. All that media publicity, that's one of the first signs of communism on the people.
Mm-hmm. The industry, right? Now, um, they love to I want to go to some more of their lives. So
If you want to go to some more of the lies, just go down one more paragraph. It said the orphan trains, in actually a misnomer. About half of the children they rode these trains had one living parent. Now, if they had one living parent, how could you say originally that they were orphans and unwanted children? The definition of an orphan is somebody who don't have a parent.
Come on now. Yeah. Yeah. So these were the German Jacobian experiment children. This is why in the Midwest, right? In the Midwest, the Europeans, the pale skin Europeans, they look different from the Europeans on the East Coast. They look completely different.
This is true.
They look entirely different. Even the pale skin Europeans down south, they don't even look like them. The ones in the Midwest just look different. I tell my husband all the time, like, man, they're a different breed from the ones on the East Coast. They're a different breed. That's because most of them are third and fourth generation of these orphan children who originated in the incubator through the test tube by the German doctors who was creating them. This is the reason why a lot of times
can't reproduce faster than we can.
This is the reason why a lot of times we'll say, like, man, Europeans, they just different. They don't act like us. Like, they don't have this sense of humor like us. They don't. Now, the younger ones, the younger ones, like the millennials, and then with the introduction of hip hop, right? So you got your millennials, and then you got what they call them, Gen X's. Are they Gen Z's or Gen X's? Which one is it? Y'all don't want to help me out. It's okay. So go ahead, brother.
It is probably both.
Okay. So with the introduction of hip hop, they've become more in tune with the soul tapping into. So the the modification isn't like it used to be. Yeah, the modification is different, right? This is the reason why a lot of them, you know, many of them, they don't act like their great grandparents. They don't think like their, you know, great grandparents and things of that nature. Um, so on and so forth. But yeah, it's been an upgrade for them with hip hop. Is another reason why um a lot of them are attracted to melanin, right? Our melanin, because it is a upgrade in the genes. It is an upgrade in the genes. Um, it's this is just crazy. So they lied about Hitler. You know, they created these test tube babies. And they lied to us about Atlantis. Atlantis is really America. America, we know, has the oldest water, is the oldest landmass after the what they call the Great Cataclysm or the Flood, the Great Flood. That indeed did happen. And let's see what else they lied about. Let's go to this book. Let's see, it is titled Ancient Mystic Oriental Masonry.
Is the phone charger still in the room?
I don't know if the phone charger is still in the room. This is page 25. And I want to start right here at number 4. Can everybody see this?
Islam.
Islam, gratitude. Says the cradle of the symbolism used in all masonry is placed by many of the best authorities in that country which they believe was the first inhabited, i.e., the plateau of Tartary, and from there transmitted to this generation by the sages of India, Persia, Ethiopia, and Egypt. We are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion or masonry. We are not indebted to either ancient Egypt or either religion or masonry, but to America. So masonry didn't come out of Egypt. It did not come from Europe. It came from America. It is a fact that Memphis, Tennessee, Egypt, and the pyramids under the guidance of the kings, under the guidance of the kings. Man. Under the guidance of the kings. Oh, man, more. Sometimes I just be studying, reading this stuff, and I be like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Where was Martin Luther King or Michael King murdered? Memphis. It said, it is a fact that at Memphis, Egypt, in the pyramids, there's pyramids in Memphis, under the guidance of the kings. The mystic rites of masonry were worked many thousands of years ago. But at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. Egypt was here. Egypt was here.